How important are holiday parties really? Are they worth the investment?
This podcast is brought to you by Arcamed, fast and focused design and manufacturing.
I'm Greg Maurer, founder and owner of Arcamed.
And I'm Caroline Squatrigo, talent engagement specialist. We are on a journey to grow, learn, and gain expertise in small to mid-size company culture. Join us.
Okay, Caroline, what's the question of the day?
So today we're talking about holiday parties. I think this is something we can look at as maybe a little bit frivolous or something that's very costly that doesn't have a huge impact. So we're going to test it and see. We've had our own share of holiday parties, so we'll kind of dig into that and talk about what the real people impact is of these events. So first, Mickey, Greg, your dad, Mickey, will be back on with us. He has a pretty good holiday party story. I think it trumps a lot of Archimed stories that he'll be sharing with us. And then we will be joined by Archimed's finance manager, Amy Polston. She plays a big part in planning these events, and she also is our money person, right? So she knows firsthand what type of investment goes into planning these. So we're excited.
She's why we stayed on budget for our 10-year anniversary party.
Yes, yeah. You guys like to pair me and Amy up because I think big, and then Amy tells me that I can't do that because it's too expensive, which is good. So we'll have fun with it, I think.
Okay, so we're here to talk about the role holiday parties play in company culture, and a lot of folks sort of check the box and try and just do a holiday party so that they can say they did one, and that may work for some. But I have with me my dad, who perhaps at one point in his career thought about a holiday party as a one-size-fits-all, but maybe at some point learned that wasn't the case. So welcome to the podcast, Dad, and love to have you share the story about how you learned about the nuances of a holiday party.
Well, thank you very much, Greg. And I remember that story with great fondness because I was, as you say, surprised. One size definitely does not fit all. And it was a wonderful time. Everybody, all the cultures were there. Whether they mixed exactly, I don't think so, but they enjoyed one another's company. And those business were the National Bank of Indianapolis, which was brand new. We only had about 25 employees. Radio stations which we owned, WTPI, WZPL, and an AM station. I think we had close to 100 of employees, and the Business Journal, which we had about 50 some employees. So we invited the radio station. We invited the bank people to come. It was kind of a brand new company, and they just didn't have the size to have a decent party. So we merged all three together. We were looking forward to a great holiday party. The bankers had already been tested so that they were free of drugs. It's a requirement of the federal government if you're going to be on the board of directors of a national bank. So you had to test yourself and be negative on drug screens. We wouldn't dare test the radio personality overnight, particularly with their orange hair and wild dress and absolute drug use. We lose them all if we had a drug restriction. So we didn't do that. Just kind of set the scene for you. And the bankers all showed up in suits. And of course, there wasn't a suit among the radio station.
So where was it? Where was the party?
We held it at the Vogue Theater. And we booked the Vogue that night. The old Vogue Theater used to show cowboy movies on Saturday afternoon, but now they book acts. It's on College Avenue, about 62nd. And Um, so one of the bankers showed up at the door in his suit and tie, and one of the radio station people came over with the scissors and cut off his tie, and that kind of started things going. The radio people were um, raucous. The banker were very, very staid. Um, the newspaper people kind of in the middle, a little of both. And so I learned that each of these organizations had a separate and distinct culture, and we had to not only holiday parties but other events. We had to gear it toward the culture that we had and the culture we wanted to foster at that particular um, company. And needless to say, we never had another three-way holiday party again. It just doesn't work.
So the following year, do you remember where the bank went for their holiday party? You must have attended a couple parties that next
We
year.
had a number of parties where we brought in those volunteer people who run casino betting. They give you a lot of script, and you can use it to bet, and then you cash it in for prizes.
Mm-hmm.
And our bankers love that. Calculating odds, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Gambling. We serve dinner and a gambling thing.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, Caroline, over the course of this podcast, we certainly have learned that there is no one size fits all culture, and to celebrate your culture and employees through a holiday party or any other event sounds like we have to make sure we tailor our approach so that it's a fit, because we don't want anybody cutting ties off of innocent guests at our next party. So, Dad, any last sort of advice for a company like Arcamed that's always trying to celebrate its culture and its employees through events and fostering interaction?
Yeah. First of all, I think establishing a culture, sometimes it happens, but sometimes you really have to work at it. And I think working at it, particularly when that's necessary, is very much worth the effort. A lot of cultures have a number of things in common. Obviously, we want to foster a group that has high morale, works together, has high ethics, and cares about customers and cares about their fellow workers. Those are things that we have in common. But some cultures are specific to the industry, and you got to figure out what that is at Arcamed. For example, the bank, we wanted to establish a culture of super service because the banks at the time in Indianapolis were not really, they were out of town mainly banks, and they were not serving their customers to the point where we thought we could do. So our culture was one, let's hang together, work together, and let's make sure we deliver service to our customer. So we built our culture around that area of expertise, and and it worked. Um, the newspaper was one. We built our culture around. We will deliver reliable news and news that you can believe in and count on. And the the previous owner of the newspaper had not made that commitment. They often printed stories that they hadn't um, vetted very well, and we insisted on two sources before we do a story. And our culture was one of pride in the fact that when we report something, you can count on it. So we built our culture around reliability and and truth. And the radio station had a different culture, um, and I'm not sure I can put it in words. Um, Maybe, hey, we're in this business. Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
And I had trouble establishing a culture that was serious enough for these radio guys. As I said, our general manager told me that if we tested our disc jockeys, which we call on-air personalities, for drugs, we lose every single one. So you got to kind of, in a situation like that, you kind of got to just uh, relax a little bit and not push too hard to establish a culture that might be rejected by your employees. So that kind of sums up the culture of the three companies that had that holiday party together.
Well, I certainly like the aspects that all those cultures have in common of getting along with your fellow employees and caring about your customers and high ethics. And, we certainly work at Arcamed to establish those aspects. I appreciate you sharing the story with us and with our listeners. That's a neat story. It's one I've heard before, but I always like hearing it again. So thanks for the time today. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for including me today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, today we are joined by Archimed's very own Amy Polston. Amy is our finance manager, and she has been a huge part in all of the Archimed parties over the years. There's been a lot of evolution as we have grown. And so, certainly before my time, I'm very excited to hear kind of what that looked like and the impact. She's going to have a lot to add to today's conversation. So, Amy, welcome.
Hi, Caroline. Thank you.
Hi.
So, Amy, how long, what was your first holiday party at Arkham? Do you remember it?
Yes, it was at John's house.
Right.
So it was the first year. I believe that it was at John's new house, which was smaller than his previous home.
Yes. And it was a small gathering because we were a
Yes.
small company.
Correct.
And I think the highlight was the horse racing game.
Yes, everyone went to the basement to play the horse racing game.
Which, for the listeners who don't know what that is, it's really a lot of fun, where you bet quarters on horses and you roll the dice, and your horse moves, and whoever wins gets all the quarters. It's small time penny gambling, but a lot of bragging rights. So and that felt really good. That party. I don't know how you felt about it, Amy, but it was warm and embracing, and
Yes.
it was at the CEO's house, and people had a nice time, and it was very low key and relaxed, and it was just an acknowledgement that we wish well in the holiday season for all these people we spend so much time with. What were your impressions?
Yeah, I would agree. I think too, as small as we were, you were able to kind of walk around and talk to everybody. And I talked to people like that I didn't normally talk to, which was nice because, when you're at work every day, you're just very busy and in the zone. So it was really cool to just be able to connect with people that I didn't talk to on a regular basis. And I feel like people are different kind of outside of the work setting too. So being at John's house, we were away from the building. So it was kind of nice. Everyone just kind of let their guard down, and you kind of got to know people on a personal level.
And then we grew to where we couldn't fit in John's basement anymore. And we had not, I would call a low light of my professional career, which was when I was forced by my colleagues to sing karaoke. And I knew it wasn't great, but when I heard the replay, and Gavin, maybe we can put a little clip in to this.
I think we'll have to dig up that clip and put it in.
We'll lose a lot of podcast listeners, but it was so horrible. I vowed never to sing karaoke again. But
your rendition of 9 to 5 was
it was rough.
On point.
I don't think people will want to listen to 9 to 5 ever again.
But so now we're back in the facility where we already spend so much time, and it's a little less familial, but still, I thought a nice time. But what did you think, Amy?
Yeah, I still thought it was a nice time. And we definitely had the space for it. But yeah, I think the fact that it was back in the building does put a little bit of something to it. Because like I said, when you're away from work in the building, I don't know, people just seem to be a little bit different. So being here at work, it just had a different feel to it from John's house.
So now that space is full of equipment.
Correct.
Yeah.
So now the question is that now that we're at 100 employees and nobody's home is big enough and our facility's too full of equipment, which is obviously a good thing, what do we do now?
Oh, I think we're going to have to look at renting a space somewhere. Definitely. I mean, similar to like our 10-year anniversary party, we rented out that really nice space.
Yeah, we had our first offsite Archimed party in 2021, I should say. And I think that was a lot of fun for people. And it was was a good celebration of 10 years, and also it being off site and like a very nice facility where people could go and enjoy, and we had people there to take care of us. um, it kind of showed how far we've come, I think, especially for people who were at those first holiday parties at John's house, where it was a lot of fun, but it was more like that family feel. And now it's like we've grown up to the point that we have just like a nice offsite soiree, if I may.
So, Amy, do you think it's a big? It becomes a big investment, right? Because you're renting a space, and you're
Mm-hmm.
with that comes catering and bartenders and things like that. They it's a package deal. These spaces want you to pay for the space and the caterer and the bartenders. Um, and it's a busy time for families. So, and people maybe feel obligated to go. Is there still a point to it at this size, or is there another way to do it other than, because the 10-year anniversary party celebrates a really big milestone, and I get
Mm-hmm.
that. But is the holiday party something we do just because conventional wisdom says we should do it?
I feel like it's really important to do, especially during COVID. We were not able to get together and celebrate, and I feel like everyone here at Arcamed, we are a family, and everyone likes to be together. And a lot of people really missed having the holiday party, honestly. So I think that's what another reason why the 10-year party was so nice and so successful is the fact that it was kind of us getting back together after we had not been able to be together through the pandemic. So I think how we handled the holiday party this last year is we just did little group kind of little group department parties, and I don't know. I think that loses something.
Right. So on the tail of the 10-year holiday or 10-year anniversary party, John thought it'd be good for departments or
Mm-hmm.
other groups to acknowledge the holidays in smaller groups.
Mm-hmm.
And you thought that without the 10-year anniversary party, that would be lacking?
Correct. Yes.
What do you think, Caroline?
So I think it depends on the group. We have so many different departments in the building that, like, some of our groups, like if you take our manufacturing department, I mean, that's huge, right? And then you have like the sales team, for instance, which is what, like 5 or 6 people. And so it just depends, honestly, and it depends on the dynamic. I had a lot of fun at ours, but I do think I would be sad like if we hadn't had the giant 10-year right before it, because it's nice to interact with different people. And I also think, like, people bring whether it's their spouse or their friend or their significant other, whatever. We always say, like, bring your favorite person. So that's fun too, because then we get to know a little bit more about them. I also think when we were in the building, it was fun for everybody it's like we didn't do an official tour, but you get to see the building, see the facility that your person's working in every day. It's kind of a fun thing to have everyone all in one room together. And I know, I mean, I don't think this is a surprise, but we heard from a lot of people when we were separated during COVID that was like what they missed the most. Like, everyone was craving that kind of interaction. And we felt like we had lost touch with some of the culture piece because we couldn't all be in a room together.
So, Amy, your opinion is that having some acknowledgement that you mentioned family, which resonates with me, but not necessarily with everybody else. We had a whole nother episode about how I'm wrong, and the word family isn't a good fit. But I'm in your camp, Amy. But something to acknowledge. Hey, we spent a lot of time together. Let's just celebrate each other.
Yes.
So, and that's part of our culture. So I think it has to happen. But my question is, does it have to be a holiday party in December? Should we have Christmas in July, so to speak, and have cookout and kids come? Could it be different every year? I mean, what are the goals, I guess, other than celebrating each other? Or maybe that's it. Maybe that's just the simple goal: is that every once in a while we need to celebrate each other.
Mm-hmm. I think that's it. Every once in a while, I think we just need to celebrate each other. So yeah, I think as long as we did something, it could be something in July, cookout or something. It doesn't have to be a holiday party. As you pointed out, people are really busy during the holidays. So maybe that would make it easier for everyone to be able to come.
Yeah.
I know we had I think it was the first year I was working here, we had like an open house. Did we get like a bouncy house or
We
something?
did, yes.
We got something and we had, and I was not in attendance, but I know everyone was very happy. And to your point, Greg, it's like we had kids come out. It was a whole family day. I think that probably means a lot to people.
We got a big parking lot back there to
We
utilize.
do.
We
We
do.
have a big parking lot.
So, Amy, you
Um,
control the purse strings of the company. How do you feel about the budget, the 10-year anniversary party? I don't even know what it costs, but I'm sure you do. But
I
is
don't know
that
if we gave you
something
the
you'd want to
final
spend
number,
every year,
Greg.
or you'd scale it back?
I would probably scale it back. So maybe like every other year we could spend something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the other off year we could just do something a little bit smaller. Caroline, what do you think? I will say Caroline and I did come in within budget. We were very good at keeping it
Oh,
under
Oh, did
budget.
we?
Yes.
Good. I honestly thought we went over,
No, we
so
were
that's good to
good.
hear.
uh,
I I think I don't know how we want to structure, because as we grow, the budget's going to grow because you just have more people that you have to accommodate. Um, I would say we put a lot of investment into the 10-year party because it was a big deal for us. Like 10 years is a big number. We were very happy that not only did we make it, but we've had a lot of success in those 10 years and we continue to grow. So I don't know if it's necessary to put that much into it every year. But I think, we can do a cookout at work, invite everybody. Maybe it's a little less expensive. Maybe we do Christmas in July every other year, and then a big party in December on the off years. I don't know, but I think it's more about the
Hmm.
gathering. I think the fun part about putting some investment behind it is, people, I think it's like a pride thing too for people. They can bring their spouse to this nice party and be like, hey, this is, get to show up everything off to each other. And I think that's a fun thing too. Just knowing where we've come and that we can support something like that. And I think people know that the company puts a lot into that. So it means a lot to them as well that we do that.
are there any risks or negative aspects of holiday parties?
I have a story that somebody told me. I think there's a big HR risk,
Says
personally.
the HR
Um,
department co-chairs here. I
well,
saw you
but here's
nodding
the
your head too, Amy.
I think we, and Greg, you brought this up too. I mean, we used to have these parties. We did not have bartenders there. It was kind of a bring your own situation. And people had fun, and that was, I don't think there were lines crossed, but we did talk about, we're at a certain scale. Is this a risk? We started adding in like whether it was a Lyft or
Hmm.
an Uber credit, so that we knew people had a safe way to get home
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't have to worry about. At the 10-year, we made sure people could leave their cars overnight so they could take the Lyft and safely get back and get their car in the morning. But on top of that, I mean, I was told the story of a company that they had a holiday party every year on a boat. Well, you can't leave a boat once it's gone. So people kept drinking and things would happen. And the Monday after the holiday party, they would always be firing a ton of people for these offenses that, I don't want to take the blame off of, or the accountability off of somebody for their own actions. But I do think if you know that every year this happens, maybe adjust, because there is often alcohol involved. There's a lot of people. If you're offsite of work, you're not in that work mentality. So there are some things to be aware of, but that just goes into the planning. I don't know, Amy, have you seen, I don't know if anything like that has happened here. I don't think
No,
so.
nothing like that's happened here. Like you said, we've made sure as we've gotten bigger that we've been offering the Lyft credits, or people have rides home
And
as well.
And we had a bartender at the 10-year
Hmm.
as well, or a couple provided by the facility. So that helps as well, to make sure no one's being overserved. Um, but yeah, so there's a risk, I would say.
Well, no boat parties I guess is the takeaway here.
No, we're not doing a boat
Yeah,
party.
and also, Amy and I know, left the party and went home after the 10-year party because we
Hmm.
left relatively at the same time. Um, then there was a group, I guess, that went out and continued to celebrate. Younger people, I would guess, than I.
There were a few groups,
Few
yeah.
groups, yeah. So is that part of the risk? I mean, what happens I guess it's what young people do, is stay out
I
late and
think
drink. But
I think it's a risk. I went out with some people, but I think at that point it's kind of we made sure, I will say, we made sure the Lyft credit extended into, I think, the next morning, to make sure that if people did choose to go out, they had that, it didn't like cut off when the party cut off, so people were able to access that. But at some point, that's, if you're not at the company party anymore, I would say now you're responsible for yourself.
so, Amy, what about the amount of time it takes to plan these parties? And we all have primary duties, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think we, as we grow, we need to figure out a different way to plan a party and execute it? Do we have? When do you start hiring a party planner rather than just using Megan, my wife, to help?
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't think we're at a size right now that we need an official party planner.
Well, how big do you think you need to get? Because, like, let's say you wanted to rent a tent and get a bounce house and somebody who does face painting and all these other things, for the open house for families in
Mm-hmm.
July. Like, who's going to coordinate all that and make sure it all goes well? I mean, those are real hours. At some point, the party planner is cost effective.
Yeah, that is true. Especially, as busy as the multiple hats that all of us wear internally.
Right.
Definitely.
So you ready to
Yeah,
hire
I
one?
think.
Yeah, I would. Yes. Caroline, what do you think?
Sounds...
As much time as it took us to plan the 10-year.
I mean, how much time did it take? Can you quantify it somehow?
I don't know, because it was over a long period of time, right? So it was like an hour a day for a couple months. I don't know. I could probably calculate it, but I don't know if we're there yet. I do think it would be nice to, like, so Megan, Greg, your wife, as you know, but for our listeners, Megan is Greg's wife, is amazing. Like, I truly believe that, and she knows a lot about like local vendors. So I think as we grow and learn more about vendors that we like and build those relationships, it's just like business, right? That will help us out a lot. But at some point, yeah, I mean, we'll probably have to find a planner. I don't think we're there yet, though. Maybe in like the next 2 years or something.
I would guess if you collect all the man hours, you're looking at north of 10 grand probably in hourly cost.
Probably.
I mean, I'm a control freak, so I'm probably just wanting to hold on to something. But I would, let's hire one this year. I'm in.
Okay.
Well, what was nice about the venue too is they really did take care of most of it.
They did.
Yeah, they
Yes.
did. You're right.
Yeah. So it depends to what venue you're working with. In our case, they coordinated a lot of it. I will say we spent some time that morning setting everything up. So, I mean, that was probably like 4 hours right there at least.
Yes.
And there were 3 of us there. So, stuff like that, it would be helpful to have like a different team handling. I guess it'll be as it comes, but yeah, we're getting there, I think.
So the feeling in the facility, Amy and Caroline, after the 10-year anniversary, was there some sort of wake that extended and brought the rising tide lifted the morale boat and the culture boat? Tell me your impressions.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I had a lot of people come to us and just talk about how nice the party was, how much they appreciated, Arcamed having the party. It just felt good for everyone to get together again and to celebrate the fact that we've been in business for 10 years. I felt the morale lift definitely, and just kind of the team feeling came back. I don't know about you, Caroline.
Absolutely, and I think it's one thing that we talk about a lot is, we have these owners that really care about our people and want to know our people and want to remove as much of that like owner employee barrier as possible, but it's hard. And it's on the employee side too, where people get intimidated. And I think this is a really great venue where people can get to know like the owners and the people that sit on our board in a more casual setting. And I always love people coming to be like, hey, I met Mickey Maurer and she's great. Or I met Kevin's wife, Susan, and she's great, whatever it is. And I think it helps with that, that bonding across the board. But on top of that, I mean, we did a lot of recognition. for people, because we would not be here without our people. That much is very clear. And I think that it highlights people in a nice way that everybody appreciates. And they bring that back to work, and it's kind of like a bump in morale for everyone, and we could feel that after.
Yeah, that was it made perfect sense at the 10-year anniversary to do all that recognition. Do you think that's plays a role at a holiday party as well?
Not as much, but I think you can do other things. I mean, we've done you can do like gift giveaways and stuff like that. Or
Door
the other
prizes.
thing we've done, yeah,
Mhm.
prizes. We've done like, 50-50 raffles to help support a local charity. I think bringing anytime you can support the community in some way, I think it's really nice. So tying that into the holiday parties more, I mean, people get excited about that. They want to know that we care about the community around us. And so I think there's other ways to tie it in. But I think it's something we're going to continue doing. And I think people will have a lot of feelings if we ever stop doing it. We knew that during COVID, everyone understood given the circumstances, but it was something that was felt. Um, and Amy, I think whether or not we get a planner, hopefully you and I can continue to help coordinate in some way, because I think we have fun working on it
We
together.
do.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think there is an investment. There are some potential downsides, but that's all things you can take into account when you're figuring that out. But Amy, thank you for being here, and thank you for all the time you put into planning these things for us, because it does take up a lot of time. I know you have a lot going on already, so it's very much appreciated what you do for us.
Thank you,
100%.
Caroline.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, so Caroline, we had a question in our minds about what role holiday parties play and whether we should be doing something differently than we have been, or whether the conventional wisdom is the right way to go. What did we learn?
I mean, I think this is something that evolves as a company evolves, right? Like we've learned that culture can evolve to an extent. I think it's the same thing. And I loved having Amy on because she can see both sides of it. She's very, financially oriented, as she is our finance manager, and she's the one who stands in front of the board, Greg, as you know, and justifies, how we have used our finances. So she really understands the financial impact of it. And I think, as we heard, it's worth it, right? That type of an investment is worth it in our people. And we maybe adjust it every year, have some fun with it. But it's something that keeps the morale high, keeps our people happy, and everyone works so hard that I think it's deserved to give everyone some type of a benefit from it.
Yeah, and I think I like the idea of getting away from a holiday party because it can be a stressful time. It's a busy time. Fourth quarter's busy
Hmm.
as it is,
Yes.
and everybody has family. A lot of people have multiple families that they need to honor with holiday party attendance, or spouses have jobs in their holiday parties. So I like the idea of celebrating everybody, but on our own schedule. You know, Christmas in July, or tax day, or who knows what it could be. And we had our 10-year anniversary party in the fall. It was lovely. So I like that idea.
I like that. And I mean, you brought up, Greg, do we throw these big fancy, offsite parties every other year and get creative on off years? And I love that idea too, because typically with our holiday parties, we've invited somebody's, whether it's their spouse, or we tend to say bring your favorite person, right? Whatever that means to you. um, and I think if we did something in the summertime, we've done open houses before. It's like, let's have the whole family out. It can be during the day. Maybe that's a better time for some people. We don't have 100% attendance at our holiday parties. So maybe we hit a different group of people, and that's more beneficial for them. I think we could have a lot of fun with that. And, I think people like events where they can bring their kids, because it is like we knew from the holiday party, a lot of people said, I have to find a sitter, but I'd love to come. So it kind of opens it up for more people to be able to attend, without having to think too hard about the planning side of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then on the risk side, the rule is no boat parties apparently,
No,
from your
yeah.
story, but
I mean, I
also,
love a boat, but
yeah, I know you do.
not for men.
I know you like sailing, but also it's just a constant reminder as the ones entrusted with responsibilities to manage the risk, and often that is in the form of managing alcohol consumption, so that people
Yeah,
are, um, even if they get to a point where they need to take an Uber or a Lyft home, there's a space between that and then getting further down that road and really just no matter how you're getting home, it's not a good outcome, and we want to prevent. We don't want to ever get to that point.
correct. And I think, we are very much a fun loving group, so I never want to put too many controls in place and lose the fun. But yeah, I mean, we don't want anybody who is being overserved or is getting out of hand. That's not fun for anyone. So having, whether it's something during the day where people, maybe have a couple of beers, but they're not getting too crazy. Or, in the case of our 10 year, we had, the venue provided servers and bartenders. And they were very clear on their own policy. Like they don't want to deal with the liability of
Right.
it, of over serving someone. So there are controls you can put in place that still allow everyone to have fun. And I do really like that we offer, a Lyft or an Uber credit, because it gives everybody that option to take it if they need to.
Yeah, so my takeaways is that there's no winning formula, that sometimes you throw a big bash and spend some money. Sometimes you scale it back. Sometimes you do it in December. Sometimes you can do it in July. Sometimes it's an evening adult oriented, and sometimes it can be daytime uh, family friendly. And in any case, manage the risk. I think those are the takeaways from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think any like theme that you throw around, it's an excuse to get people together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as long as we're putting some thought behind it, people are going to be excited. And yeah, I can say confidently that people work really hard in this building. We have high expectations for people, so I think it's nice to be able to provide this, to just have some fun on the company, get to know everyone a little bit better, maybe throw in some recognition or some way to engage with our community. Anything like that, I think, just adds to the experience.
You nailed it.
Cool. Well, I guess we'll maybe keep everyone updated if we do a summer party this year or
I'm
something like
feeling it.
that. I like it. I'm in. We might have to get planning though.
Yeah.